Welcome, confidential listeners, to another entry from our private archives. This is a space for the unspoken, for the deep, dramatic secrets that carry a heavy emotional weight. Tonight's story was sent to me by a man who feels he has lost everything, not to an enemy, but to his own kindness. It is a diary of regret titled "The Handshake That Ruined My Life." So, close the door, turn down the lights, and listen closely, because the audience for this truth is only you. It all started about 8 years ago. Long before the shadows took over this street, and long before they took over my own heart. I was living with a woman named Sarah. We never officially signed any papers, but for all intents and purposes, we were a couple, sharing the same roof, the same morning coffee, and the same quiet dreams, in a small, cozy, semi-detached house in Sale, a quiet suburb of Manchester, with its red bricks and white picket fences that seemed to hold the rest of the world at bay. We ended up becoming great friends with the family right next door, Edward and Julia. They had been married for just 2 years, still in that honeymoon phase. I can still hear the sound of their laughter echoing through the garden hedge, the constant clinking of teacups as the sun set over the damp Manchester rooftops. "Oi, Simon, put that lawnmower away, mate. Julia's just put the kettle on, and Sarah's already here with the biscuits. Come on over. The sun's actually out for once. We can't waste it." I would smile and hop over the fence. It was a very good thing for everyone. Truly, we became a quartet, a circle of 4 that felt unbreakable. "You boys spend too much time in that garage. Come and sit. The tea is getting cold, and Harry wants to show his Uncle Simon his new drawing. It's so lovely to have you both here." I remember those afternoons so clearly now. The smell of freshly cut grass, the taste of the tea, the feeling that we were safe. We were young, we were happy, and we foolishly thought it would last forever. The fact is that, unfortunately, after some time, the very air in my own house began to change. It became heavy, thick with things we didn't say. My relationship with Sarah went sour. It wasn't a sudden explosion, it was a slow rot, like milk left out in the sun on a rare, scorching hot day. You don't notice it at first until the bitterness is all you can taste. And in the end, after 6 long years together, 6 years of sharing a bed, 6 years of building a life that suddenly felt like a house of cards sitting in the middle of a Manchester storm, we ended up separating. I remember the day she packed her things. The sound of tape being pulled across cardboard boxes echoed through the empty hallway like a gunshot. I stood in the kitchen doorway watching her. "I can't do this anymore, Simon. I look at you and I see a stranger. We're just 2 people sharing a mortgage now. There's no fire left, not even a spark. I'm going back to Leeds. My mum expects me by tonight. I truly hope you find whatever it is you're looking for in this house." Is that it then? 6 years and you're just leaving the keys on the counter. Sarah, wait. Never mind. You're right. The silence in here is already louder than our voices. She moved back to her mother's house, away to the grey, rainy streets of Leeds. She took her scent with her.
She took her clothes. She took the way she used to hum while making tea. Since we didn't have children, at least that was a mercy. No innocent souls were caught in our bitter crossfire. Everything ended up being resolved in a more practical way, a cold way, just a lawyer and some papers. I can't say I suffered deeply with the end of our marriage, because in a way we hadn't been us for a long time. But the house, God, the house felt bigger, colder. Every floorboard that creaked seemed to be calling her name. But I stayed. I continued living there, and naturally I continued my friendship with the couple next door. They were my only connection left to the life I once knew, my only anchor in a dark sea. By then, his little son, Harry, was already 4 years old. He was a bright, energetic boy, always running around with a toy car in the driveway, making engine noises that filled the silence of my own yard. He was blissfully unaware of how fragile the world around him really was. I'd watch him grow from across the hedge while I sat on my porch with a drink. "Hey, Simon, stop moping on that porch and come over for a brew. Harry's just learned how to kick a bowl properly, haven't you, mate? Don't let the quiet get to you, old man. You've always got a place at our table." I would smile and wave, but inside, I was the lone man in the house, watching the quartet turn into a trio, watching their happiness and feeling a strange, hollow envy, never imagining that soon, very soon, there would be even fewer of us.
It was right around that time, in the heart of a cold, gray Manchester autumn, that the fatality happened. The sky had been heavy with clouds for days, that typical northwest drizzle that turns the roads into glass. Edward had 2 great loves in his life, his family and his machines. He had the car for the school runs, but his soul belonged to his motorcycle. It was a customized Triumph, a beast of chrome and black leather that he kept in the garage like a sacred relic. I remember seeing him that Saturday morning. I was out on the driveway pulling some weeds when I heard the garage door roll up. The sound of the engine starting was deep, a low growl that vibrated in my chest. "She sounds like a dream today, doesn't she, Simon? I'm just going to take her for a quick loop through the lanes, get the cobwebs out of my head. Julia wants me back by noon for lunch, so I've got to make it count. Catch you later, mate. Keep an eye on the fort for me." I just waved my hand, a simple, careless gesture. I told him to be safe. If I had known, if I had felt even a shiver of what was coming, I would have stood in front of that bike. I would have let the air out of his tires, anything to keep him there. But he rode away, the sound of the exhaust fading into the distance until it was just a whisper, and then silence. The accident happened at the junction near the A56. A car, a driver who was in too much of a hurry, ignored a give way sign. A split second of metal meeting metal, a scream of tires on wet asphalt, and just like that, Edward was gone. I was in my living room when I heard the pounding on the door. It wasn't a normal knock. It was the sound of a person whose world had just collapsed. I opened it, and there was Julia. "Simon, Simon, please! The police, they were just here. There's been an accident at the crossroads. They said it's Edward. They said it's bad. Oh God, Simon, he's not answering his phone. Please, you have to drive me. I can't breathe. I can't drive. Please help me." Julia, look at me. Breathe. I've got the keys. We're going right now. Just get in the car. It's going to be okay. We're going to get him. But it wasn't okay. The drive to the hospital was the longest 10 minutes of my life. Neither of us spoke. Julia just sat in the passenger seat, staring at the rain hitting the windshield, her hands clutching her coat so tight her knuckles were white.
Edward was taken into surgery immediately, but the injuries were too brutal. His young, vibrant heart, the heart of the quartet, couldn't take the impact. By the time the doctor walked into the waiting room, we already knew by the look on his face. The silence that followed, it wasn't just a lack of sound, it was a void, a hole in the universe where my best friend used to be. He was 32. He was supposed to come home for lunch. He was supposed to grow old next door to me. Instead, he became a ghost on the asphalt. The days that followed Edward's death were blurred. Time didn't move in hours anymore, but in waves of pain. The house next door, which used to be filled with the sound of his triumph and his loud laughter, became a tomb, a cold, silent monument to a life cut short. The funeral was held on a Tuesday, a typical Manchester afternoon where the sky was a bruised purple and the rain fell in a thin, persistent mist. We stood there, at the edge of the grave, a small group of broken people holding umbrellas like shields against the reality of it all. I remember looking at Julia. She was wearing a black coat that seemed too big for her now, as if she had shrunk under the weight of her grief. Her eyes were fixed on the casket, but she wasn't crying anymore. She had no tears left. She was just empty. Julia, you don't have to stay until the end if it's too much. I can take Harry home. Let me carry this for you for a moment. Just lean on me. I have to see it through, Simon. If I leave, it means he's really gone, doesn't it? As long as I'm standing here, a part of him is still above ground. Oh God, he was so young. He was so young. But the hardest part wasn't the cemetery. It was the days after. The normal life that tried to push its way back in. I would go into my garden and instinctively look toward his garage, waiting for the roll of the door. But the door stayed down. The bike stayed under its dust cover. I tried to be there every single day. I did the groceries, I mowed her lawn, I fixed a leaking tap in her kitchen, anything to keep my hands busy, anything from looking at the empty chair at her table. One afternoon, I found little Harry sitting on the porch steps, holding one of Edward's old riding gloves. It was huge on his tiny hand. Uncle Simon, when is Daddy coming back from the hospital? Mummy says he's an angel now, but angels have wings. Daddy had a bike. Why can't he just ride back down the street? I've been waiting for the sound, but the street is too quiet. I know, Harry. I know it's quiet. Your dad, he loved that bike. But right now, he wants you to be the man of the house, okay? How about we go inside and find a movie to watch? I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere. I picked him up and carried him inside. As I crossed the threshold of their house, I felt a strange, heavy chill. It was the smell of him. Edward was everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Julia was in the kitchen staring at a half-empty cup of tea. She looked up at me, and for a split second her eyes held a glimmer of gratitude that my heart ached. At that moment, I was just a friend, just a man trying to help a broken family. I didn't know that this tragedy was weaving a new, dangerous thread between us. I was becoming the shadow in their home, the replacement for a ghost, and the silence was just beginning to speak. As the weeks turned into months, the suffocating silence in the house next door began to lift, just a little. To keep Julia from drowning in the memories of that empty hallway,
her younger sister, Sophie, decided to move in. Sophie was about 5 years younger, a spark of energy that the house desperately needed, and she didn't come alone. She brought her boyfriend, George. I remember the day they moved their boxes in. George was a decent lad, a plumber from Altrincham, with a loud laugh and a firm handshake. I eventually became good friends with him, too. It was a relief, in a strange, bittersweet way, to hear music coming from their garden again, to see the lights on late at night. It kept the ghosts of Edward at bay, or so I thought. I'd see them from my window. Sophie and Julia in the garden, George helping me with a fence or a leaky pipe. We were forming a new circle, a new quartet, but there was always a missing piece. Every time we laughed, there was an echo of the laugh that was no longer there. Right then, Simon, I've just finished with Julia's kitchen tap. Sophie's making a proper brew for everyone. Why don't you hop over the fence and join us? Julia's actually baked a cake. First time she's touched the oven in months. Come on, mate, don't be a stranger. I don't want to intrude, George. It's family time, isn't it? But, all right, a brew sounds good. I'll be over in a minute. Just let me wash the garden dirt off my hands. I would go over and I'd see Julia. She was changing. The sharp edges of her grief were softening into a quiet resilience. She was still the widow, but she was also Julia again. Until that one Saturday, the first real Saturday of spring. The sun was actually shining over Manchester, a rare golden light that made everything feel possible. I decided it was time to return the hospitality. I bought the best cuts of meat from the local butcher, cleaned the old grill, and called them all over. I can still smell the charcoal smoke filling the air, drifting over the hedge. I invited Julia, Sophie, George, and of course, little Harry. It was meant to be just a friendly afternoon, but as I stood there, flipping the burgers, watching the flames, I looked at Julia. She was sitting at the garden table, wearing a simple floral dress, the wind catching a stray lock of her hair. Simon, look at you, the master of the grill. It feels nice, just being out here, the sun on our faces. Harry hasn't been this happy since, well, for a long time. Thank you for this, truly. I looked at her, and I couldn't look away. In that moment, the friend in me died a quiet death. I wasn't looking at my mate's widow anymore. I was looking at a woman who made my heart thrum with a rhythm I hadn't felt in years. I noticed the way she gestured with her hands, the small mole near her collarbone, the way her eyes crinkled when she laughed at something George said. Pause. It was a lightning bolt in a clear sky. I was terrified. I was ashamed. But more than anything, I was captivated. The quartet was back, but the music in my head had changed into something dark, something urgent, and something that would eventually destroy us all. The afternoon was slipping away. The sun dipping low, casting long amber shadows across my small garden in Sale. We had spent hours there, the smell of charcoal and grilled meat still clinging to our clothes, but the atmosphere was changing. It was as if the air had grown thick, heavy with things I didn't want to admit to myself. I spent most of the time at the grill, hiding behind the smoke. It was safer there. From behind the flames, I could watch her without being seen. I watched Julia talking to Sophie, watched the way she tucked a stray lock of hair behind her ear, the way her floral dress moved softly, almost teasingly against her skin as she shifted in her seat. I was observing the contour of her lips, the depth in her eyes, and that lingering aura of sadness that never truly left her, but now it made her look even more fragile, even more beautiful. It was a feeling I couldn't explain, a betrayal of Edward's memory that felt both a sin and a salvation. Come on then, Simon. Stop hovering over those burgers like they're state secrets. Come and sit with us. Julia was just telling us about Harry's first day back at nursery. You're missing the best stories. I'm coming. Just making sure nothing burns. You lot go ahead. I'll be there in a second. I finally sat down, but I couldn't focus on the conversation. Every time Julia spoke, my heart would hammer against my ribs like a trapped bird. The night began to fall, a cool Manchester evening, and it was time for them to go. I walked them all to the gate. Pause. I shook George's hand, gave Sophie a quick brotherly kiss on the cheek, but when I reached Julia, something in me snapped. A handshake felt like an insult. A kiss on the cheek felt like a lie. I reached out and pulled her into a hug, and it wasn't just any hug. I pressed her body against mine with a force that surprised even me, holding her there for almost a whole minute. I could feel her heart beating against my chest. I could smell the faint scent of jasmine and wood smoke in her hair. Simon? You okay, mate? You're holding on quite tight. Is everything all right? You've been a bit quiet all evening. I'm fine, Julia. Just glad we could do this. It's been a long time since the house felt this full. Good night. Take care of yourself. I let her go, but my hands were trembling as I watched her walk through her own front door. I stood there in the dark, the silence of the street rushing back in to fill the void. Pause. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in my bed, staring at the ceiling, feeling the ghost of her touch still burning on my skin. I was the good friend, the helpful neighbor, but as the clock ticked toward 3 a.m., I knew the truth. I was a man obsessed, and the ghost of my best friend was no longer haunting that house next door. I was the hunter now, waiting for a chance I wasn't even sure I should take. The weeks that followed that barbecue were a blur of restless nights and stolen glances through the curtains. Every time I saw Julia in her garden, my chest felt tight, like I was suffocating on the things I hadn't said. I couldn't be just the helpful neighbor anymore. The mask was slipping. I decided I had to know. Even if it meant losing everything, I had to speak. I invited her for dinner at my place, just her. I made sure Sophie and George were out for the night and little Harry was tucked away in bed. I spent hours preparing. I cleaned every corner of the house, set the table with the best linen, and lit candles that cast long, flickering shadows against the walls. I bought a bottle of expensive, deep red Malbec, the kind of wine that tastes like dark fruit and secrets. When she knocked on the door, my heart nearly leapt out of my throat. She looked hesitant. She was wearing a soft cream sweater, and her hair was tied back, making her look younger, more vulnerable. Simon? Goodness, look at all this. The candles, the wine. You've gone to so much trouble. Is there a special occasion? I thought we were just having a quick catch-up about the fence repairs. Where is everyone else? No occasion, Julia. Just sit down. I thought you deserved a proper meal away from the house for once. No Harry running around, no sister, just some peace. Please, pour yourself a glass. I need to talk to you about something that's been heavy on my mind. We ate in a strange, thick silence. The only sound was the clinking of cutlery and the rain beginning to drum against the window pane. I watched her in the candlelight, the way the shadows danced in the hollows of her collarbone. My courage was failing me with every sip of wine, but I knew it was now or never. I cleared my throat, the sound echoing too loudly in the quiet room. "Julia, look at me. I know it's only been months since we lost him. Nobody knows how much you've suffered more than I do, but I have to be honest. I can't breathe anymore with this secret. I wake up thinking about you. I go to sleep with your face behind my eyes. I've fallen in love with you, Julia, deeply, and it's tearing me apart to pretend I'm just your friend." The silence that followed was brutal. The candle flame flickered and died, leaving us in a dim orange glow. She didn't move. She didn't gasp. She just stared at her glass, her face unreadable. For a moment, I thought she might reach across the table and take my hand. My heart soared with a desperate hope. But then she looked up, and the look in her eyes, it wasn't love. It was a cold, shimmering pity that made me wish the floor would open up and swallow me whole. "Simon, stop. Please don't say another word. You're my friend. You were his friend. How could you even... I'm not ready for this. I may never be ready for this. I see you as a brother, as a rock, but not this. Never this. I think I should go home now." I stood there like a statue as she stood up and walked to the door. I didn't try to stop her. I didn't say a word. The door clicked shut, and I was left alone in a house filled with the smell of expensive wine and the bitter, metallic taste of rejection. I had laid my soul bare, and she had walked right over it. I thought that was the lowest I could ever feel. I had no idea that the true humiliation was only just beginning. The days following that dinner were a living nightmare. The air between our houses had turned cold, frigid. I could no longer look at her garden without feeling a sharp, burning sting of humiliation in my chest. We still spoke, but the words were empty, hollow shells of the friendship we once had. We talked about the weather, about Harry's school, but we never looked each other in the eye. I felt like a ghost in my own home, wandering through rooms that felt far too large for one man. I was lonely, desperate for a distraction, and that's when I made the mistake that would haunt me for the rest of my life. I had bought a tablet from a colleague at work, a man named Arthur. Arthur was everything I wasn't. He was charming, confident, with a quick wit and an easy smile that seemed to light up any room he walked into. "Right then, Simon, I've got that tablet in the car for you. Top of the line, mate. Since I'm already in sale, dropping it off, why don't we grab a quick pint? You look like you could use some fresh air and a bit of a laugh, to be honest." "Actually, Arthur, why don't you just come by the house? I've got some steaks in the fridge. I was thinking of firing up the grill anyway. It's a nice afternoon. Stay for a bit. We'll have a proper barbecue." If I could go back to that moment, I would have slammed the door. I would have told him to leave the tablet on the porch and drive away as fast as he could. But I was weak. I wanted company. I wanted to prove to myself that I could still be a normal person. I set up the grill in the backyard, the same backyard where I had held Julia just weeks before. And then I saw them. Julia and Sophie were in their garden. I felt a wave of foolish pride. I wanted to show Julia that I had friends, that I was moving on. So I called them over. "Oi, Julia, Sophie, I've got a mate here from work, Arthur. We're just putting some meat on the fire. Come over for a bit. There's plenty for everyone." They came over. Julia was wearing a simple white sundress, looking more radiant than I had seen her in months. I introduced them. I watched Arthur's eyes widen as he looked at her, and I saw her look back. In that first second, I saw a spark pass between them, a connection that had taken me years to build, and he achieved it in a heartbeat. I stood at the grill, the smoke stinging my eyes, but it wasn't the smoke that was making them water. It was the realization that I had just opened the gates to my own destruction. That afternoon in the garden was the beginning of the end. While I stood over the grill, sweating, acting like the perfect host, I watched them. Arthur didn't just talk to Julia, he enchanted her. He told jokes that made her head tilt back in a real, genuine laugh, a sound I hadn't heard in years. I felt a physical pain in my chest, a sharp, jagged twist of a knife. Every time he leaned in closer to her, every time she touched his arm while laughing, I wanted to scream. I wanted to kick him out of my house, but I just stood there, flipping the stakes, burning my fingers and my soul. Monday morning at the office was even worse. The sun was shining through the windows, but everything felt dark to me. Arthur walked over to my desk during the lunch break, a smug, satisfied grin on his face. "God, Simon, I have to thank you again for Saturday, mate. Your neighbor, Julia, she is absolutely incredible, stunning, and so easy to talk to. To be honest, I didn't expect to meet someone like that at a backyard BBQ. We've been texting since I left your place. Already sent about 50 messages back and forth. I think I'm in trouble, Simon. She's special." Texting? Already? Look, Arthur, she's been through a lot. She lost her husband not long ago. It's a sensitive situation. Maybe you should slow down a bit. Oh, she told me. Poor girl. But she said she's tired of being the sad widow. She told me talking to me felt like a breath of fresh air. We're meeting for lunch tomorrow in the city. Just a quick bite, but I've got a good feeling about this. I felt like I was going to be sick, right there on the office carpet. Texting? Lunch? It took me months to even get her to sit down for a dinner, and he did it in a few hours. I realized then that she didn't have a wall around her heart. She just had a wall around me. I spent the rest of the week like a zombie, watching the clock, imagining them together. I stopped going into my garden. I couldn't bear to see her window. I couldn't bear the thought that Arthur's car might be parked in her driveway. The jealousy was like acid, eating me from the inside out. I hated Arthur, but I hated myself more. I had invited the wolf into the fold, and I had handed him the keys to the only thing I ever wanted. I was the good friend, the loyal neighbor, and now I was the man who had paved the way for my own heartbreak. I was the man who had paved the way for my own heartbreak. The weeks turned into a blurred cycle of pain. Every time I came home from work, my eyes would betray me, involuntarily darting toward her driveway. And there it was, Arthur's car, shiny, arrogant, parked where I once dreamed I would be. I heard from George, Julia's brother-in-law. He came over to borrow a tool, but I knew he just wanted to check on me. He saw the state I was in, the dark circles under my eyes, the bottles of wine cluttering my kitchen counter. "Simon, listen to me, mate. I know it's hard, the whole street knows, but you've got to let this go. Sophie told me Julia and Arthur they're getting quite serious." She's smiling again, properly smiling. If you love her, even as a friend, you've got to be happy for her. Take my advice. Get out for a while. Find someone new. Don't let this house become your cage. Happy for her? George, I'm the one who fixed her pipes. I'm the one who sat with her through the funerals and the nightmares. I brought the wolf into my garden. I handed him the meat. And now I'm supposed to applaud while he takes everything? Just take the tool, George. I need to be alone. I sat in my dark living room, watching through the slots of the blinds. I saw them coming home from a night out. Julia was wearing that same floral dress. Arthur had his arm draped over her shoulder. Natural, effortless. He leaned down and kissed her, right there, under the street lamp. It was a long, lingering kiss, the kind I had only ever felt in my imagination. I closed my eyes, but the image was burned into my retinas. I realized then the ultimate irony of my life. I was the architect of my own ruin. If I hadn't bought that cursed tablet, if I hadn't been so desperate to show off my friend, they never would have met. They would be strangers, and I would still be the good friend, the only man in her life, clinging to a glimmer of hope. Instead, I gave her away. I packaged her up and handed her to a man who didn't even have to try. Is there anything more pathetic? Is there anything more stupid than a man who builds a bridge for his own replacement? She doesn't want me. She never did. She wants him, and I'm the one who made it happen. I lie here tonight, staring at the ceiling, listening to the rain hit the Manchester slate. A lone man in a lone house, haunted by a ghost and a living regret. Goodbye, Julia. Goodbye, Edward. I hope you're both happy, wherever you are, while I rot in the silence I created. And that is where Simon's letter ends. A story of loss, a story of silent longing, and a tragic mistake that changed the course of 3 lives forever. It's a bitter pill to swallow, isn't it? To be the person who builds the very bridge that someone else walks across to reach the heart you wanted. But now, I want to turn this over to you, my confidential listeners. What do you make of Simon's situation? Was he truly the architect of his own ruin by introducing Arthur to Julia? Or was it simply inevitable that she would find someone who wasn't tied to the ghost of her late husband? Do you think Julia was unfair to Simon? Or was he wrong for waiting in the shadows for so long? I want to know your thoughts. Leave a comment below and tell me, what would you have done if you were in Simon's shoes? If this story touched you, or if you've ever felt the sting of a love that was never meant to be, please give this video a like. It really helps the channel grow and allows me to keep sharing these intimate truths with you. And if you haven't already, subscribe and hit that notification bell. We have many more stories waiting in the shadows, many more secrets to uncover. Thank you for trusting me with your time today. Until next time, stay safe and keep your secrets close. Good night.